So I have this question in my mind, though. Let's say that we, just the thought experiment. Suppose that we hadn't done the mass vaccination campaign, right? And then there's sort of two versions of that. Okay, let's say we did nothing and we just behavioral modifications and nothing else. What would the world look like today? How much loss of life would there have been? And then the second version of it, the one that I would favor, and I think you would favor, is without the vaccination program and the aggressive development of protocols based largely around interventions that are known to work, supplementing vitamin D for people who are deficient, repurposed drugs, early treatments, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, the other stuff that seems to be so effective. Where would we be today if we had done the A and B versions of the don't use these vaccines? What do you think?
Well, first of all, for me, it's I can simply not imagine, because people are always saying, you're saying stop mass vaccination. What would you do? Let people die? No, of course not. We have these treatments, and it's not that these treatments were new. Some people have started early on, like Peter McCullough, etc., showing that this was really very effective. And as you know, I'm coming from the veterinary field. What you sometimes do with certain diseases, you would infect the animal deliberately, and then you would treat the animal. So in that way, you can immunize. Right. So if somebody, in other words, gets the disease, and you do the early treatment, of course, also with the animal, you will not wait till it's moribund, right? So you will treat, then this, they will recover from the disease automatically. They will build antibodies. They will contribute to herd immunity, right? Yeah. And of course, there's also this thing about, all the other age groups. I mean, the elderly, of course, we would have had to intervene. Also people with underlying diseases, comorbidities, we know the groups, the vulnerable groups. All the other age groups, I mean, of course, they could have had some asymptomatic, some mild or moderate disease. But what is wrong with getting the disease and being in bed for a couple of days, right? You recover from this. It then provides a large part of the population with immunity, with herd immunity. Once this herd immunity is established, it means that the likelihood that somebody who is vulnerable, who has a weak immune system, gets infected with a viral load that would be sufficient to make that person ill is very, very remote. In other terms, once you reach that herd immunity, you can just skip all the infection prevention measures, etc., that you had put in place during the time where herd immunity was in the process of being built up in order to protect these people, right? That is what would some people have died, of course, right? But the pandemic, I mean, I can only, that's also something which is very stunning to me, astonishing, that if you are confronted with a pandemic, I mean, our generation has never seen this. The first thing to do is you look what happened in history, what happened with the Spanish flu, for example. How long did it last? I've been checking all the pandemics that have been documented. None of them lasted longer than 18 months, for example, right? So, and some of them, 8 or 10 months. Now, you have to realize, back in those days, the world was still a very large place. It took time, because people, were not that interconnected, etc. as now. But now the world has become a very small place. So I even suspect that the pandemic. Absolutely, right.
So this matches my sense of where we'd be if we had done nothing. There would have been a massive loss of life. It would have burned itself out, and we would be lamenting the loss of life, but we'd be effectively done with it. If we had done the right thing, which is to skip the transfection campaign and to aggressively use the tools that quickly became apparent that they worked.
For the vulnerable population.
Yes, well, really, I mean, we've seen examples where these things have been deployed well, like Uttar Pradesh, for example. Probably Japan, although it's a little harder to figure out what they did.
Well, Japan, we can discuss this, but I have
You've got a
lot of very strong information, you know, trustworthy information from real insiders.
Yeah,
that
I'm curious.
It's not ivermectin that did the job in it.
Ivermectin.
But they are talking rather about, you know, the TB vaccine still being part of the childhood vaccination program. And you have heard about these studies where, you know, a lot of immunity gets stimulated by the TB vaccine. And they are saying it's rather due to this fact rather than to the ivermectin. But okay,
but anyway, put that aside for the moment.
Yeah.
So if we had treated aggressively, protected the vulnerable prophylactically, maybe we protected everybody prophylactically in light of the fact that ivermectin worked that way in at least the initial variants. I mean, one of the things that troubles me here is that ivermectin's efficacy has dropped, right? I actually didn't expect that, but it did.
Since when did it drop?
Delta?
Delta and Omicron?
Right.
Yeah.
So
I think I have an explanation for this, but we can come back to this later. But you can keep it in mind.
Yeah. No, I'm very curious.
I know
to what
why
it
you're
is.
interested.
Yeah.
But okay.
But in any case, I do think that we have these two other scenarios. Both of them are better than where we are. Yeah. We've had very high loss of life, and we've had basically a collapse in our belief in our medical apparatus because it has revealed itself to be incompetent at protecting us, and it has revealed that it's willing to lie egregiously in all of this. So
all the collateral damage, and Bret, it's not finished.
Well, and it's not finished, which is really conspicuous because, and this has been bugging me for a year now, which is, you know, we look at these rates, right? And, you know, the rate is rising. It's rising in a population more than half of which has already had the virus. So the point is, we are not seeing the accumulation of the immunity that would normally be accompanying anything like this. And we're seeing such rapid proliferation of these variants, you know, and we're seeing people get the disease multiple times within months of each other. There's a lot here that's non-standard. And, you know, we will, of course, never know what would have happened if we had behaved in one of these other ways. But I'm reassured to hear that you see something of the same picture.
Absolutely.